We are just over a week away from the King and Queen of the Ring pay-per-view, so most of last night's segments were related to building up the card for that event. Let's take a look at what went down during last night's show, for this is the Cerebral Smack Talk. Hey there, welcome everybody to this special edition of the Cerebral Smack Talk. Don't adjust your audio. Yes, it is me. I am your guest host tonight, Anthony Florio. I am sitting in tonight for good old MF Michael Fletcher. MF, little under the weather this evening, but we are hopeful of having him back with us Monday night for Ridiculously Raw. In the meantime, I am joined by the Phenom Michael Bullock, and tonight, you know how we're gonna do it. It'll be Friday Night SmackDown and AEW Collision. And that's all we really have. No sports tonight. So with that, let's get let's start it off. Friday Night SmackDown last night, emanating from the ViStar Veterans Memorial Arena in Jacksonville, Florida, on Fox, and we started it off with the SmackDown semifinal match in the SmackDown portion of the Queen of the Ring tournament. Tiffany Stratton squaring off against Bianca Belair. Bianca Belair wins the match, 13 minutes and 28 seconds. Bianca Belair advances to the SmackDown final, which will take place next Friday night on SmackDown in Saudi Arabia, by the way. So 3.25 to 3.5. Both of these women pride themselves on combining power and agility, so this match was very physical and featured a lot of fast-paced action that highlighted their strengths. Tiffany Stratton has continued to look more confident with each performance, and Bianca Belair works well with almost anyone. The EST is as over as any babyface in WWE, and Stratton always plays a great heel, so the crowd was reacting to almost everything. This bout went back and forth with both competitors coming close to winning a handful of times, before Belair hit the KOD for the win. She continued selling her injured leg after the match was over, so that will likely carry through to her next bout. There were rumors on social media earlier yesterday that Bianca Belair was pregnant. Montez Ford and Angelo Dawkins had a lot of fun with those rumors. Obviously, it's not true because there's no way Bianca would have competed if it was true. Tiffany Stratton really throws herself into her bumps. She makes her opponents look great. And Belair's scream when her knee hit the steel steps was so convincing. So great way to start it off. I could easily give this between 3.25 and 3.5 stars. Great way to jump off last night's edition of Friday Night SmackDown. So not much more to say. Phenom, Michael Bullock, come on in. Bianca Belair advances to the SmackDown finals of the Queen of the Ring tournament in Saudi Arabia on Friday, next Friday night. Question is, will it be her against Nia Jax, or will it be against her tag team championship partner, Jade Cargill?
Well, we'll have to wait and find out later on when what the answer to that question will be. So, but yeah, this was 3.25 to 3.5 stars. Definitely a good way to jump off this edition of SmackDown. I mean, yeah, when you heard Tiffany Stratton hit the post right on that knee, you could just tell that she was in pain. So yeah, she sold that really well, and yeah, now she has a bout with or a date in the SmackDown Finals portion of the Queen of the Ring. So yeah, so 3.25 to 3.5. So yep, nothing more to say. Let's move on for you.
And we move on to the King of the Ring, the SmackDown semifinals of the King of the Ring tournament. And this next match featured LA Knight, squaring off against, yes sir, squaring off against the Bloodlines, Tama Tonga. Winner of the match, 8 minutes and 43 seconds, and advancing to the SmackDown finals next Friday night in Saudi Arabia, Tama Tonga. No surprise here, obviously, Solo Sikoa and the Bloodline. Unfortunately, they had their say in this one, so So with that, Bullock, Tama Tonga to the finals, and he will face either Carmelo Hayes or Randy Orton next week.
Yeah, I mean this was no doubt about this. I mean, you had a feeling that the bloodline was going to get involved in it. So yeah, I'll give this about an even 3 stars on this one. I mean, it was a solid match. I mean, yeah, I mean there was no doubt about it. And quite frankly, I think you're looking at the favorite to win it all. So nothing more to say. It's yours, Florio.
Yeah, 2.5, 2 3/4. They made this look like a tough fight for LA Knight, so his eventual comeback would get an even bigger reaction. And despite being in control, LA Knight ended up losing when Solo Sikoa distracted him long enough for Tama Tonga to hit a flatliner for the win. Carmelo Hayes and LA Knight had a funny interaction backstage before the match. It's hard to tell sometimes if LA Knight is over or if people just like chanting catchphrases, but this crowd seemed to love him. And LA Knight was bleeding from his shoulder at the end of the match, likely from being thrown into the ring post. 2.5, 2 3/4 of a star. And Tama Tonga advances forward. So we'll find out who he meets next week in the SmackDown finals for the King of the Ring. Then we had the contract signing. United States Heavyweight Champion Logan Paul. He had a little entourage with him, including a Dinkelberg lawyer. And along with, of course, the undisputed WWE Champion, the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes, to sign the contract for their main event match at King and Queen of the Ring. And, well, I mean, Cody Rhodes and Logan, during the contract signing with Logan Paul and Cody Rhodes, Logan Paul ripped up the contract because it said that this match was going to be title for title for both the WWE Championship and the United States Heavyweight Championship. Logan Paul was like, that's not how it's going to be. My lawyer drew up a new contract, and he said, hey, this is not what I agreed to. I agreed for it to be only for Cody's WWE Championship. My U.S. title goes nowhere. And they ended up signing the new contract for just the WWE Championship before Cody Rhodes put one of Logan Paul's cronies through a table. Paul's entourage freaking out about general manager Nick Aldis making fun of them was hilarious. And that's really all there was to say. I mean, typical contract signing, and Bullock / JBL. What do we always say about contract signings?
It don't end well.
And this one certainly did not end well for that Dinkelberg crony of Logan Paul. So
yeah, couldn't have happened to a nicer guy.
Amen to that, brother. And well, so by default, segment of the night, because obviously it was the only segment on the show because it was a wrestling heavy show, which is always good for me. So with that, Bullock, it's now official. Cody Rhodes, Logan Paul, only for the undisputed WWE Championship next Saturday night as part of King and Queen of the Ring in Saudi Arabia.
And I don't know if you noticed when Logan Paul did that, but I think General Manager Nick Aldis did not look happy about that.
He obviously wanted title for title.
He wanted title for title, and Logan Paul, the typical dink that he is, decided, no, this is not what we agreed to. So I'm tearing up this contract of yours, Nick Aldis, and my lawyer drew up a new one where it's only for the undisputed WWE title. And I think Nick Aldis was ready to say something. I don't know if he was ready to punish him, but Cody was like, no. I got this. And he signed the contract, and yeah, I think it's pretty obvious now that it's only for the undisputed WWE Championship. I think we all know what the end result will be. Cody Rhodes is going to retain. We don't even have to wait to preview it. No. We already know that it's going to be Cody Rhodes retaining it.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah, so there's really nothing more to say. It's yours, Florio.
Yep. So, yeah, obviously by default, the segment of the night. All right. And we move on now to the other SmackDown semifinal in the Queen of the Ring tournament. A matchup that we had been waiting for ever since their interaction at the Royal Rumble back in January, as it was one half of the other half of the WWE Women's Tag Team Champions, Jade Cargill. We saw her partner, Bianca Belair, take care of Tiffany Stratton. Jade Cargill squaring off against Nia Jax. Nia Jax wins the match via disqualification in 2 minutes and 37 seconds.
Very, very disappointing.
We all wanted to see the tag team partners go at it, but nope.
Well,
Nia Jax.
Not that, but not just that, but the match to only last over 2 minutes.
Yeah, we got one word for you. Dud.
Yeah, this was a D-U-D, dud. Yeah. Yeah, this is basically goes into the file of I could give two you-know-whats about this. But, man, oh, man, I mean, you hyped this match. I mean, we were all so excited about this. And this is how you end it, like this. And to make matters worse, I mean, and to be quite honest, I think Jade Cargill should have been the one advancing because, let's be honest, Florio, Nia Jax was the one who introduced the steel chair into the match.
Exactly.
So, yeah, so I think it should have been Jade Cargill and not Nia Jax. And then, to make matters worse, when Cargill was consoling, I think it looked like her daughter in the crowd.
Yeah, her daughter was there.
Yeah, she blindsided her, and Nia Jax says, "Your mother sucks."
Ugh. As if we didn't need another reason to hate Nia Jax. Ugh.
Yeah. I mean, we didn't need another reason to hate her, but now we found another reason why both you and I, Florio, can't stand her. Not only because she hurts women and puts them in so much danger with the way she is as a wrestler, but just the disrespect of so many people, including Jay Cargill's daughter. No, that's where I draw the line with that. So Nia, I mean, if you're looking for a reason for people to reason for people to hate you, congratulations, you little bitch. That's what you you wanted to get more heat. You did what you had to do. So, gosh, I mean, I still don't get, Florio, to this day, why doesn't Triple H decide to cut ties with her? Because who was the one that brought her back?
In one of his last acts before he left, Mr. McDinkleberg.
Yeah, I mean, that to me was someone that Triple H should have gotten rid of. I don't know why he still has her around. That's the questionable thing I have with Triple H. The only questionable thing.
Well, it is what it is. But
now we got to deal with Nia Jax and Bianca Belair
now. So Bianca Belair. So it will now be Bianca Belair versus Nia Jax in the SmackDown finals, and the winner of that will face from Raw either Io Sky or Lyra Valkyria for the Queen of the Ring next week.
Yeah, it's so disappointing that I was just we were so excited. I mean, they were building this, and this is all we got.
That's it?
No. Nope. This is like the rarest of times. I'm like, Triple H, you got some explaining to do.
It was obviously to protect Jade Cargill. I mean, I don't like it either, but,
I mean, yeah, I get it that you're trying to protect Jade Cargill. I get that. But there are other ways they could have done it.
Certainly.
Now, if the match had gone longer and this was and ended in a disqualification, then it's more understandable.
Yeah, we were one of the rare times we're actually looking forward to a Nia Jax match. How about that? And basically that's it. This is all we get.
No,
but I'm with you, Bullock. This is an absolute dud. Nia and Jade kept brawling at ringside, but the crowd was vocal about its unhappiness, and we can't blame him for that. Absolutely not.
Yeah, the crowd was chanting BS.
We would have too. We would have too if we were in Jacksonville. This felt like a cheap way to protect Jade Cargill without having her advance in the tournament and face Bianca Belair. The post-match fight was kind of fun, but everything else about this was underwhelming, to say the least. And Jade Cargill's daughter was at ringside, and she was acknowledged by Corey Graves and Wade Barrett. So, absolute dud. We're not going to waste any more time on this. Then we have, now this match was not advertised ahead of time, but we had it anyway. DIY, Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa squaring off against Angel Garza and Humberto Carrillo as part of Legado del Fantasma, Los Lotharios, if you will. And DIY wins the match, 7 minutes and 55 seconds, 2.5 stars. This was an unannounced match without much of a story behind it. But with the WWE Tag Team Champions, Austin Theory and Grayson Waller at ringside, it seemed like WWE wanted to set up the winners as the next number one contenders. This was decent, but nothing to write home about. DIY is a great team, but they need more chances to have longer matches to remind all of us how good they really are. I got to be honest, Legado del Fantasma feels directionless right now. Austin Theory mentioned being in the way in NXT, which only served to remind us of when he was easier to tolerate. And Johnny Gargano's slingshot spear looked great. So 2.5 stars for me. Michael Bullock, if I didn't know better, I would say they're setting up DIY to possibly be the next challengers for Austin Theory and Grayson Waller in the WWE Tag Team Championship.
Oh, yeah. I think that I'm thinking the exact same thing, too. So 2.5 stars is my rating on this. I mean, yeah, and of course, during the match, Elektra Lopez pulled Johnny Gargano down from the turnbuckle, and yeah, you thought that worked? No, because she got caught with her hand in the cookie jar by, I think it was Jessica Carr, right?
I believe so.
Yeah, and therefore, just to Elektra Lopez and Santos Escobar.
See ya.
Or as what is it? Who used to do the White Sox broadcast on WGN?
Ken Hawk Harrelson.
Or as he liked to say when someone strikes out, what does he always like to say?
Got him.
No.
He gone.
That's what I was looking for, Florio. That's what Jessica Carr was basically telling Elektra Lopez and Santos Escobar. Be gone. So that's what eventually got them the win here. So yeah, so there's really nothing more to say. It's yours, Florio.
All right, Bullock, here we go. The main event. But before that, let's set the table for next week. Next Friday night on SmackDown, it will be the SmackDown finals for the King and Queen of the Ring. The Queen of the Ring SmackDown final, Bianca Belair versus Nia Jax, and Tama Tonga to square off against the winner of our main event. Talk about an MF special. Here you go. It sucks that MF isn't here tonight because I would have loved to have gotten his thoughts on this. Two of his boys, Carmelo Hayes, squaring off against Randy Orton. Randy Orton wins the match, 10 minutes and 38 seconds. And he did it as only he could with an RKO out of nowhere for the win, 10:38. And Michael Bullock, we got the final for the SmackDown King of the Ring final. Randy Orton squaring off against Tama Tonga. The winner goes to the finals to take on from Raw either Gunther or main event Jey Uso.
Yes, I'm going to give this about 2.5 to 3 on this one for the main event. I mean, I would have loved to see who MF was going for in this one. I mean, those are two of his boys in this. So, yeah, I mean, the outcome to me was never in doubt. I mean, would I have loved to see Carmelo Hayes win? But absolutely. But, I mean, I just think it was too soon to have him go over here. So yeah, now Randy Orton gets Tama Tonga and was confronted by the Bloodline and had a nice little back and forth to basically end the show. So, but just imagine, Florio, just think of it. What if the finals of the King of the Ring tournament turns out to be Tama Tonga and Jey Uso? No, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but
that would be something.
I'm just saying, just imagine what it would be like if it ends up being those two.
That would be something. I mean, Jey Uso originally part of the Bloodline, and Tama Tonga part of the new Bloodline with his brother Tongaloa, and of course the quote unquote interim tribal chief at the moment, Solo Sikoa. So, I mean, that would be something. That would be something. But I'll tell you what I think.
To say this, Florio, he's not going to be permanent tribal. I mean, interim tribal chief for long. I think he's going to be the permanent one because I still believe that The Rock is pulling the strings with this.
Oh, absolutely. It's definitely the final bosses. The final boss is definitely pulling the puppet strings on this one.
I think this is a sneaky way. I mean, because why do you think The Rock is doing this to Roman?
Well, it's to get back at. It's basically to punish Roman, saying, "Roman, hey, I gave you at the best possible advantage that you could going into WrestleMania against Cody. I mean, you should have had no trouble with Cody whatsoever. I gave you every possible unfair advantage, and yet you choked."
And let's not forget another thing too. What happened the night before in that tag team main event?
Roman Reigns accidentally speared The Rock.
Yeah, and I know it seemed accidental, but I think to the final boss, he's probably like, no, I don't think that was accidental.
You did that on purpose.
Yeah, so I think it won't be long before the final boss makes Solo the new tribal chief. And I think this is where I think we're going to get a bloodline civil war at SummerSlam.
Well, there's a lot of things that's definitely going to happen. I think we're going to see the Gorillas of Destiny go up against, I think it's going to be Gorillas of Destiny versus the Usos at SummerSlam. I think it's going to be Roman and Solo at SummerSlam. And I still think even though I know the end game right now is calling for Cody and The Rock at WrestleMania 41 in Vegas, Easter weekend next year. No, I'm still holding out hope that the end game is Rock and Roman at 41 for the title of Tribal Chief.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, let's not forget, we could still end up getting a War Games match, possibly at Survivor Series in November. So you never know. So a lot to think about, I know. But Tama Tonga and Jey Uso in the final? Nah, I don't think so, Bullock. With all due respect, I don't see that happening.
Oh no! I don't think so either. I'm just saying, imagine what it would be like if it was them.
Oh, there will be some shaking. It'll be pandemonium, no doubt about it. But I just don't see it happening, and I'll get into my little theory in just a moment. But this was the second best fight of the night. I think Tiffany Stratton and Bianca Belair had the fight of the night. This was the second best fight of the night here. Last night's main event between Carmelo Hayes and Randy Orton. Hayes had a couple of segments to hype the match and set up a feud with LA Knight. This was an interesting matchup because it paired a newcomer to the main roster with one of WWE's most tenured performers. This was an entertaining performance that made Carmelo Hayes look like a future star, but he took one too many chances and jumped right into an RKO out of nowhere to give Randy Orton the win. Melo smacking Orton in the back of the head was funny. The Viper's reaction was perfect. Melo's springboard clothesline looked awesome. And now we have our King of the Ring final on the SmackDown side. It will be Randy Orton versus Tama Tonga. And then, of course, on Raw, we know it'll be Gunther squaring off against Jey Uso. I already know. I got this feeling. the King of the Ring final is going to be Gunther versus Randy Orton. Can you imagine that? Gunther and Randy Orton for the King of the Ring? Whew, wow. That's a potential match of the year candidate right there. Honest to goodness, it is. And that's a match that I really want to see. And on the Queen of the Ring side, we know it'll be Bianca Belair and Nia Jax for the SmackDown side. And on the Raw side, it'll be Io Sky against Lyra Valkyria. The predictable route would be Io Sky and Bianca Belair in the final. But there's a part of me that really wants to see Lyra get there. But I got a feeling Io and Bianca are going to go over, and we're going to get Io and Bianca for the Queen of the Ring. And I wouldn't be at all surprised if Bianca were to win that and Gunther was to win King of the Ring. So, but we'll get more into that when we preview this on Friday night on a special crossover edition of Talking Wrestling TXN and TXN Sports World. 3 to 3 1/4 for this. This was the second best fight of the night. So, overall review 7.5 for me. Last night's SmackDown featured 5 matches and several non-wrestling segments, but the 2 best segments bookended the show. Bianca Belair and Tiffany Stratton opened the show with a fantastic performance, and Randy Orton and Carmelo Hayes closed the show the same way. Cody Rhodes and Logan Paul kept their feud going. Nia Jax and Tama Tonga both advanced in their respective tournaments, and DIY scored a quick win over Legado del Fantasma. King and Queen of the Ring is just over a week away, but WWE still has a little work to do building up the card. Let's hope it sticks the landing. This was 7.5 for me. So, Michael Bullock, your overall thoughts, and we'll get into AEW Collision.
Yeah, I'll give it about 7 to 7.5 as well. I mean, yeah, I thought the women's, the first women's semifinal on the SmackDown side was the fight of the night. So yeah, you pretty much said everything on it. So let's now get into Collision.
And a word of warning, AEW Collision was actually taped this past Thursday night at the Moda Center in Portland, Oregon, and the home of the Portland Trail Blazers, of course. So let's dive on in here. It's beginning to feel like Rampage being back on Fridays will feel strange when it happens because it has been combined with either Dynamite or Collision for several weeks in 2024. Packed lineup this week. And let's take a look at what went down on tonight's Collision. We're not going to get into Rampage, though. Let's start off Collision. And Collision started off with Will Ospreay squaring off against Shane Taylor, the leader of Shane Taylor Promotions. Anthony Ogogo was in Shane Taylor's corner. International champion Nigel McGuinness, along with Matt Taven and Mike Bennett, were at a ringside. It was Roderick Strong who was sitting in on commentary with Tony Schiavone and Nigel McGuinness. Winner of the match, 9 minutes and 55 seconds. It was Will Ospreay. No big surprise here. I'll tell you what. I mean, Shane Taylor is one of those big guys who has surprising speed and agility, but his power and striking ability are his biggest assets. He played a great hurdle for Ospreay to overcome on his way toward his international title match with Roderick Strong next Sunday at Double or Nothing. But it would be nice to see him start accumulating some wins. And that's all I can say on that. Out of all the big signings over the last year, Will Ospreay has been the most active in the ring. The way Ospreay sold a stiff chop to the chest was great. And Lee Moriarty was not at ringside because he had a match later in the show. So solid 3 stars, teetering on 3 1/4 for this effort here. So not much more to say. Michael Bullock, Will Ospreay, with big time momentum going into his international title match with Roderick Strong next Sunday at the Double or Nothing pay-per-view. And do not at all be surprised when Will Ospreay walks out the next international champion next weekend.
Oh yeah, what did you give it, Florio?
3 1/4.
Yeah, 3 1/4 for me as well. I mean, yeah, this definitely is a nice win for Will Ospreay to give him some momentum going into that international championship match against Roderick Strong next week. And Yeah, I'm with you, Florio. I'm already calling it right now. I think we're seeing a new international champion in Will Ospreay. No need to wait until we preview it. So, nothing more to say. It's yours.
All right. The next three matches in succession were all qualifying matches for a three-way eliminator match that's going to take place this Wednesday night on Dynamite to determine who will challenge Chris Jericho for the FTW Championship at Double or Nothing. The first of those three matches featured Hook, and Hook squared off against Johnny TV. Johnny TV, of course, with his wife, Taya Valkyrie, in his corner. Hook wins the match, 3 minutes and 25 seconds. We're not going to waste any time on that. A little disappointing. I was actually looking forward to this match. I thought this could have been a decent little match here, but this was not a very long bout, but it was as long as it needed to be. It was competitive enough to keep Johnny from looking like a jobber while allowing Hook to pick up another W. It may not be memorable, but it served its purpose. Second of the three eliminator matches, Katsuyori Shibata squaring off against Rocky Romero. And Katsuyori Shibata wins the match in an even 10 minutes. Now, this was better, far better. This was an interesting matchup because both men are highly decorated veterans who have worked together several times in New Japan, but it's been over 8 years since they faced each other. Unsurprisingly, these two lauded performers put on a tough fight in this FTW Championship qualifying bout. Shibata picked up a submission victory to qualify for the Contender Eliminator match Wednesday night on Dynamite. Rocky Romero wished him luck in his quest and shook his hand to end the match on good terms. Shibata is known for his strikes, but Romero was hitting some stiff kicks also. Romero is great at looking dazed after a big hit. And then Brian Keith made his entrance while Shibata was leaving and tipped his hat to him. And we'll get into his match in a minute. But Shibata wins, even 10 minutes. So, Michael Bullock, we got two competitors now. We got Hook, and now we got Shibata. Katsuyori Shibata defeating Rocky Romero in an even 10 minutes.
Oh, yeah. 2.5 to 3 in this one. Yeah. Shibata with a big win over Rocky Romero. I mean, I enjoyed it in that even 10 minutes that we got for this. So, yeah, there's really nothing more to say. It's yours, Florio.
And I forgot to give my rating. Solid 3 stars for this. So, the third and final qualifying match featured Brian Keith squaring off against Boulder. Boulder had Jack Jameson and Bronson in his corner. Didn't matter. Brian Keith won the match, 1 minute, 40 seconds. This was the worst fight of the night. If I had to put a rating on the Hook match with Johnny TV, that was probably like 1 star at 1 to 1.5 at best. This was a dud. Short and uneventful, but it made Keith look good to beat the odds so decisively. So now we have our 3-way eliminator match on Wednesday night. It will be Hook versus Katsuyori Shibata versus Brian Keith. Winner of that match will challenge Chris Jericho for the FTW Championship next Sunday night at Double or Nothing. We all know it's going to be Hook. So that's all I can say there. And we had the Battle of the Cassidys up next. They're not related, obviously, but Orange Cassidy squaring off against Isaiah Cassidy. Orange Cassidy wins the match, 12 minutes and 10 seconds. 3.25 to 3.5 stars. Both of these Cassidys came out for the next match after the Bang Bang Gang attacked Pac and left him down on the stage. Sadly, they were not competing to see who got to keep their last name in a ladder match. Both of these men are used to being the smaller man in the ring, so they took full advantage of having an opponent who was equally matched in almost every way. They worked at a brisk pace, but still took time to sell some big moments and moves. Trent Beretta showed up in the crowd and distracted Orange so Isaiah could take control. This was a fun sprint that paired up two guys who have been in AEW for a long time together without crossing paths too often. Like I said, this was 3.25, 3.5. OC's Tornado DDT looked great. Brother Zay really threw himself into it. So not much more to say here. 3.25, 3.5 stars. Michael Bullock, your thoughts as Orange Cassidy defeats Isaiah Cassidy in 12 minutes and 10 seconds.
Yeah, 3.25, 3.5 on this one. I mean, this was, a really good match here. I mean, yeah, nice win for Orange Cassidy here. So, yeah, there's really nothing more to say. So let's move on.
women's action now as the number one contender for the AEW Women's Championship, Serena Deeb. She squared off against Anna Jay. Serena Deeb wins the match, 8.5 minutes. And then after the match was over, the women's champion Toni Storm, Mariah May, and Luther, they stole Serena Deeb's dojo flag, and Toni Storm proceeded to wrap herself in that flag. So, okay. So, but nonetheless, Bullock, Serena Deeb defeating Anna Jay in 8.5 minutes to give Serena Deeb some momentum going into her big women's title showdown with Toni Storm next week.
Yeah, but Toni Storm is literally trying to take her out of her game with what they did with stealing that flag and basically wrapping herself around that flag. So, like you said, okay, but I mean, you want to talk about, to me, the crazier person right now, as far as I'm concerned, is Harley Cameron. There's no doubt about it in my mind. And you know what? I even put Saraya number 2, but number 3 is Toni Storm as far as I'm concerned. I mean, but the thing is, because so many people are into this character that she's in right now, I mean, it's just hard to not it's hard to not like it. I mean, if it's over with the people, then that means they're doing something good. So as crazy, I mean, she may be crazy, but with the way she's being booked right now, it's hard to argue with her character. So it's yours, Florio.
Yeah, 2.5, 2 3/4 for the match. Anyone, I'll say it like this.
Oh yeah. I'm sorry, I forgot to give my rating. 2.5.
Okay. 2.5, 2 3/4 for me. Anyone who has been paying attention knows Serena Deeb is one of the best technicians in the world. So seeing Anna Jay hold her own and put on a good performance is a big indicator of how much she has improved over the last year. This ended up being longer than expected, which allowed them to exceed expectations. Luther showed up and stole Serena Deeb's dojo flag, but it didn't distract her from winning with the Serenity Lock. Toni Storm, the women's champion, came out and stripped down behind the flag as Mariah May and Luther held it up, and Serena Deeb chased them away to end the segment. Anna Jay has been doing some good work in Ring of Honor lately. It's hard to tell if Serena Deeb is a babyface sometimes when she does stuff like attack her opponent the way she did at the start of the match. There was a moment when the referee was counting and Anna Jay's shoulders were clearly not down. But nonetheless, 2.5, 2 3/4 of a star. Then we had another cutout match. Nick Wayne squaring off against Jack Cartwheel. Nick Wayne wins the match, 2 minutes and 25 seconds. We're not going to waste time on that. So all it was basically a showcase. That's all it was. So we're not going to, waste any time on that. Main event of the evening, 6-man tag team matchup. Bryan Danielson and FTR, Dax Harwood and Cash Wheeler squaring off against Lance Archer and the Righteous, Vincent and Dutch. And the winners of the match, 12 minutes and 55 seconds. It was the babyface team, Bryan Danielson and FTR. I'll tell you what, this was kind of an odd choice to put in this spot. The outcome was obvious. And even though Bryan Danielson and FTR are part of the same storyline right now, there is no feud with Lance Archer and the Righteous. But obviously, it was only Archer and the Righteous because they were doing the bidding of the Elite, obviously. This was booked to give the babyfaces a victory to show they can work together before they compete in that huge Anarchy in the Arena match next week. This was as frenetic and physical as you would expect with these 6 men involved. FTR got the win with a shatter machine on Vincent to end an enjoyable trios bout. The losers took out their frustrations on the winners with a post-match attack. It's still kind of weird to not see Jake the Snake Roberts with Lance Archer. The tape on Bryan Danielson's back gets bigger with each match. The Portland crowd was popping for everything Bryan Danielson did. Lance Archer's spinebuster is about as good as it gets. And the way FTR set up the shatter machine was fantastic. I would say 3 1/4, 3.5 for this. Probably by default the fight of the night. So not much more to say. Michael Bullock, 12 minutes, 55 seconds, the time of the fall. Bryan Danielson and FTR defeating Lance Archer and the Righteous on our main event here on Collision tonight. No surprise, so they could have the momentum going into the huge Anarchy in the Arena match. The three of them and Darby Allin against the Elite next Sunday night.
Yeah, 3.25, 3.5, a solid main event to close out this edition of Collision. I mean, it definitely gives Bryan Danielson and FTR the advantage going into that Anarchy in the Arena against, along with Darby Allin against the Elite. So, yeah, there's really nothing more for me to say. It's yours, Florio.
All right. Overall thoughts on this taped edition of Collision, Bullet?
All right. I will give this about maybe 6.5. I mean, sometimes these tape shows are usually not all that good, but I mean, you did have some short matches, but all in all, I'm not going to say it was a bad show. It was just an average show. So 6 for me. It's yours, Florio.
Yeah. That I'm actually going to go a little higher. I'm going to go about 6.5 to 7. Overall, an average edition of Collision with the usual quality matches, concluding with highly predictable outcomes. The only newsworthy aspects of the show involving setting up or announcing AEW Double or Nothing or Dynamite matches. And that's really all I can say on that. So nothing overly exciting. So yeah, 6.5 to 7 for me. So with that, that will put the bow on this special edition of the Cerebral Smack Talk. We want to thank you all so very much for tuning in as always. We will be back with you Monday night, immediately following Raw, for another edition of Ridiculously Raw, as it will be King and Queen of the Ring week, as this will be Monday Night Raw's go-home show for King and Queen of the Ring. Of course, you know it. The King of the Ring final for the Raw side, Gunther versus main event Jey Uso. The Queen of the Ring final, Io Sky versus Lyra Valkyria, and a whole lot more this Monday night from the legendary Greensboro Coliseum in Greensboro, North Carolina. And we will also have the return of my Tony's Take, Impact Wrestling and NXT Level Up. So we'll get into that on Monday night. And then Wednesday night, over on MF's channel, Brace Fan 95, we will have Wednesday Night Madness, as we will have NXT, AEW Dynamite, their final show before Double or Nothing. And we will also have the return of the Celtics chat and the Ranger Roundup. We will recap the Celtics game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals against either the New York Knicks or the Indiana Pacers. We'll get into that. And then we will also get into game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals between my and MF's New York Rangers as they square off against the defending Eastern Conference champions, the Florida Panthers. That series starts on Wednesday night in Madison Square Garden. So we'll get into the Ranger Roundup on top of that. So that'll be on Wednesday. And then Friday night, a crossover show. It'll be a combination of both TXN Sports World and Talking Wrestling TXN. We will preview the NBA's Eastern and Western Conference Finals. So far, we know the Boston Celtics are in the Eastern Conference Finals. And earlier tonight, just a little while ago, the Dallas Mavericks punched their ticket to the NBA's Western Conference Finals. And we'll find out who their opponents are. Both teams' respective opponents will be tomorrow night. Both of their Game 7s are tomorrow. So, and we'll also preview the Stanley Cup Conference Finals, Eastern Conference Finals, Florida Panthers, New York Rangers, and the Dallas Stars awaiting either the Edmonton Oilers or the Vancouver Canucks. The Edmonton Oilers forced the Game 7 earlier this evening. So we won't know that result until Monday night. So we'll get into that. And we'll also, maybe we may get into a little bit of SmackDown, or if not, we will also get into Friday Night SmackDown, and we will also preview the King and Queen of the Ring pay-per-view. And then next Saturday night, we will be recapping the King and Queen of the Ring tournament pay-per-view, and we may get into some Ranger Roundup and Celtics chat stuff on there as well. So very exciting content coming up, to say the very least. So that's it. So until Monday night for Ridiculously Raw, it's Anthony Florio here for the Phenom, Michael Bullock. And, of course, in spirit, good old MF, Michael Fletcher. And, of course, always and forever, the First Lady, Dee Dee Woodson. You know the routine, everybody. Thumbs up. Talk to you later. Yeah, throw it up, Fortune Forest style. Bye for now, my friends. God bless. Be good to each other. Have a blessed couple of days. And until Monday night, for Ridiculously Raw, you've been watching this special edition of the Cerebral Smack Talk right here on the Tone 25 on YouTube and streaming.com. And remember, my friends, no matter what anyone tells you beyond anything else, wrestling is indeed actually real. For everybody who has been a part of this one, for now, Anthony Florio, so long, and bye, everybody, bye.